Broadly speaking, there are two ways we can think about this. The first way, I call it the calculator approach, is all about costs and benefits. Does membership of the EU make me richer? Does it make my country richer? The other approach isn't about money, it's about identity, it's about control. The fact is that people want to feel they belong to a community and that they have a say over who governs them and how they're governed. And so any opinion on membership is going to involve a balancing act between these two sorts of concerns. Does the EU make us wealthier on the one hand? And is the price we pay in terms of community and control worth it on the other? Firstly is geography. We're an island, and being an island we think about our neighbours differently. They're further away, it's harder to cross borders, we don't get French and German telly. Somehow they feel more distant than they would if there was only a land border. And partly it's history. Our experience of the Second World War was really different to theirs, and it means we didn't have to worry about the need to come together to ensure peace and ensure democracy. And finally, we joined their club late, so they'd already set the rules. And key things like a common agricultural policy designed by the French for the French were already there when we came in. Let's think first about the calculators. And the key to the economics is the single market. And it's this market that lets us buy and sell across the whole of the European Union. Governments aren't allowed to protect their markets from goods from other member states. And broadly speaking, insofar as economists ever agree, they agree that the market has made our economy bigger. It's increased our choice. And compare our supermarkets now, if you're old enough, to those of the 70s. There is no comparison. But the benefits aren't the same for everyone. Big firms that do a lot of their business in Europe may love EU membership. Big firms that don't trade in Europe but trade with China and India might find EU rules annoying. Small firms that don't trade in Europe still have to apply EU laws, and that might be costly for them. Third, some sectors have done better than others. Financial services thrive in the EU, while parts of manufacturing have suffered. And of course then there's geography. The South has done better from the EU market than the North, because the South is closer to the EU market than the North. And there are people who say that ultimately the EU helps the wealthy, because they're the ones who send their kids to university in Europe, who buy the French wine, who buy the ham from Italy, and who travel a lot. So the economic case depends on who you are, it depends on where you are, and it depends on what you do. Politics is also about community, because states are founded on communities that share identities, and it's this sense of community that allows them to do many of the things they do, like creating social services and a welfare state and things like that. And when people feel they're losing control of their communities, they can get resentful. So there are people who don't like the fact that their taxes go to paying benefits to migrants, for instance. And other people worry about the fact that we don't seem to control our communities anymore. Sovereignty is the word we use, and that basically means our ability to make our own decisions affecting our own futures. One argument is that sharing control allows us to do more together than we could by ourselves. For instance, can we get better trade deals as part of a bloc of 500 million than we could by ourselves as only 70 million? The flip side of that, though, is that actually what that means is we're no longer in control of our country. Decisions are taken in Brussels rather than in London, and we can be outvoted. And EU rules mean we can't even control who comes into our country. So for some people, the debate isn't about markets, but about control. And even if you think the single market makes you richer, you might well think it's actually better to be slightly poorer, but in charge of our laws, in charge of how we spend our money. There aren't any right or wrong answers. And ultimately, how this affects you is going to depend on who you are, what you do, where you live, who you want to govern you, and who you want to share your country with. It's a decision for your gut every bit as much as for your head. The one thing we can say for certain is the decision we make on the 23rd of June is a really important one, because it will shape the future of this country for many decades to come. So it's worth getting informed before you make your choice.